My name's Alison Price. I'm a business analyst on Allowance digital service.
I'm Colin Greenwood. I'm a developer on the CAD system, which is the digital collection of carers' claims.
My name's Peter Whitehead. I'm Scholar developer on the CADs.
In the Three Amigos process, as a business analyst, I have to work collaboratively with the developers and the QA team, bits you've got a common understanding of the story, applying like the 3 C's that we use in Agile: record, confirmation, conversation. It's also to review the requirements and the test scenarios, getting feedback from the QA and the developers and reviewing those test scenarios and acceptance criteria if we need to, and removing any ambiguity so that we can build ways we want to build.
In the Three Amigos process, what we do is we review the cards that are coming through. So the cards contain the work items that are coming into the next sprint. We review those with the BA, the business analyst, just to make sure that they've got sufficient information on them for us to be able to complete the card.
The BA has created stories that are going to be used in this sprint, and we go over the acceptance criteria, try and pick holes in it and find out what the story is about, basically.
We are a team, and because we're co-located, we work closely with the team. So the Three Amigos process, when we decided a story's got to go into delivery, the developers would start building that story, and then they would demo it to myself. Then I would validate that story, working with the QA as well to make sure that they can build up the regression pack if there's something that I need to include in that.
So usually what that means is looking at what the detail is, talking around what needs to be done, trying to pick out any areas where we might have queries, often wanting, making sure there's enough information, maybe screenshots, maybe text that's needed on various things, and just trying to think through what the little niggles may be. Often once you start developing something, then you come across things that have not necessarily been considered by the BA. So maybe for instance error messages, error conditions typically, and that's the process really, just to talk through the BA and make sure that when we get that card that we can work through it without having to keep coming back to the BA all the time asking for questions.
I can make sure that what we're building is correct, and I give that assurance to the project owner and delivery manager that everything's on track and we're working to target.
So the benefit is once we get our cards and we can then start working on them during the sprint, it means that we can work in a much smoother fashion where we know we've got enough information to be able to do the job without constantly harassing people for more information.
To me, it gives me a better understanding of the story, of what needs to be done and what tests need to be written to fulfil the acceptance criteria.
If we start to doing a piece of work and we realise we don't have enough information, the person that we need to ask might not be there, we might get stalled, we might end up with multiple cards on the go that are all stalled. So the clearer the cards are, the better the information, then the more easily we can move through a sprint without delays and without blockers.
Tips: time box the Three Amigos session, doesn't have to be long-winded. Also, if you're building a feature, you don't want to just deliver a Three Amigos process to one developer and one QA, include everybody in that team who might be involved.
I think that obviously the tricky thing is to go into the review with when we do the Three Amigos. The key thing is to really try and think as deep as you can as a developer, to think, how will I code this, and what areas will I need to change in order to code it, and therefore does that mean that there are any gaps in what's been given, and it's difficult. And of course it's an experience thing that once you've done it a few times, you suddenly realise that particularly error messages are always a key thing that you just get overlooked, and you think, well, we don't need error messages, but of course we always have to think through the failures on a process, so it's often the case to think through as deeply as you can.